Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Lies might get you ahead for a while, but they always catch up to you in the end. Today on the rLounge, we're fact-checking the truth. Am I the a-hole for denying my sister's lies in front of her in-laws? I'm a 25 female and have an older sister, Kate, 30 female. She and I were never close due to our age difference, and because she hated that our dad married my mom and had me after divorcing her mother. Kate claims dad told her he never loved her mother and that my mom was his true love. That our dad always compared the two of us and asked her why she has to be a difficult child, and that overall dad loved me more. On the other hand, dad claims nothing she says is true, that she was very problematic and insolent. These claims are backed up by my mother and dad's parents, so I assume Kate was never 100% honest. Anyways, these are their problems that do not concern me. Some time ago, Kate reached out to me and told me that she got engaged. I said congrats and everything. She told me she has a favor to ask. She told me her mother-in-law is very family-oriented and it does not sit well with her that Kate is estranged from her family. In her words, future mother-in-law is considered something is also wrong with Kate, and she is also to blame for being no contact with her family. Fearing Kate will also influence her son to do the same thing. What Kate wanted from me was for me to meet her in-laws for them to see she does not hate her family. I joked that future mother-in-law sounds a little insane, and I agreed to help her because at the end of the day, I never hated her, and I don't think she hated me either. The fact we are not close does not mean we hate each other, or want bad things to happen to one another. Anyways, I went to meet Kate, her future husband, and her mother-in-law and father-in-law at a restaurant. They were very nice people and very warm. At some point, mother-in-law said something along the lines that she is happy to see that the abuse we suffered did not affect our sisterly bond. I was confused and asked, what abuse is she talking about? While Kate tried to change the subject. Mother-in-law says, it's okay, I have nothing to be ashamed of, and that she knows from Kate our parents abused us while growing up. I clarified that this is not true. We were never abused by our parents or anyone in our family. We were raised in a very loving family. We were never hit or spanked no matter what we did. Our parents are well off, so we always had everything that we wanted. Clothes, phones, laptops, cars, etc. Mother-in-law got very, very angry. She apologized to me and started insulting my sister. She called her a liar, accused her of being manipulative and trying to insert herself into their family by being dishonest. What happens is that Kate accused our parents of many things that are not true. Now Kate is accusing me of ruining her life. She says her engagement is over. The in-laws hate her, and her fiancé does not trust her anymore. The thing is, I don't think I did anything wrong. I cannot sit and hear people blasting my parents for her lies and for things that never happened. But still, am I the a-hole for telling the truth? Let's check with the community and see what they think. First up, not the a-hole. Kate rolled the dice with the fake sob story and lost. I'd have done the same. Nobody gets to slander my parents just to look good. Sucks for her, but that's on her lies, not you. The next person says, exactly. Kate gambled on a lie and it backfired hard. It's not OP's fault for telling the truth, it's Kate's fault for fabricating abuse. If she was willing to lie about something this serious, who knows what else she's lied about. Yet another commenter says, even worse, she lied to OP, shot what she lied about to mother-in-law. So OP would have been a party to slandering her own parents simply by agreeing without knowing the details. Her sister pretty much painted herself into a really ugly picture. I'm sure her boyfriend is totally on board with the relationship still though. She sounds lovely. And the next commenter says, not the a-hole. Kate made a decision to lie and then it bit her in the butt. Sounds like she made her bed and she can lie, in it. Seriously though, how dumb is she? If she told her future mother-in-law something that big, of course she would bring it up to you. And if Kate expected you to lie for her, she really is special. And not in a good way. In the eats paste way. The OP replies, I assume she never expected her mother-in-law to be so blunt and tell me? I don't know, but yeah, it's stupid. One more commenter says, I'd put money on the mother-in-law already knowing she was full of crap to begin with, and this just confirmed it for her. She probably caught her in other lies, saying things that just don't add up, etc. That's why she was so blunt about it. Judgment, not the a-hole. You were right about being honest, OP. It sounds like you were put in a tough position by her lies. She expected you to go along with her story, and when you didn't, it blew up in her face. It's not your fault her engagement ended. That's on her for fabricating things in the first place. You didn't ruin her life. She did that all on her own. You're not the a-hole here. Update, 5 days later. So a lot has happened during these last days that generated even more drama. But before I get into that, I want to express a big thank you to those who commented and provided their feedback. After reading your comments, some things started making more sense, and honestly, it brought a lot of perspective over things that I missed. Also, I got really mad reading every little comment from those who projected their own messy family life over my family. And I realized the magnitude her words and claims can really have. People called my parents abusive, invented things that never happened, and started projecting on what her life was. Some of them even claimed my mom ruined her family when my mom did not even meet my father before his divorce. So it was a shock to me to see that strangers who somehow hear her stories may as well believe everything that she says without even doubting a word, or even add their own dramas into the picture to feed her fantasy. The major thing that happened was that one day her ex-fiance reached out to me via Facebook. He apologized for how things went during the meeting with his parents and asked me if I am willing to have a chat with him because he wanted to check my version for things that Kate told him. I explained that I do not want to do this behind her back because I don't think it was fair, but if he can manage to convince her for the three of us to have a conversation, I'm all in. I also told him there are a lot of things I need to confront her about, and I would really feel more comfortable with a witness there. For 2 days, I have heard nothing from them, and yesterday the big conversation happened. We scheduled a call around evening because everybody felt more comfortable like this. I will say that from the start that I had nothing to do with convincing my sister to attend the talk. This was her decision after discussing it with her ex. Based on what I understood, she agreed to it, hoping that in the end, her fiancé would take her back. Unfortunately, I will admit, her ex and I kind of ganged up on her because both of us had many questions, and she was the one to provide answers. Some answers that I got from her were, why did she lie about being abused by my parents? She claimed she did not specifically mention me as being abused, but admitted she did not correct her mother-in-law when she understood something else. So she knew her mother-in-law was living with the assumption our parents abused both of us, but did not correct her in any way. When her fiancé asked her why, she said she felt by not correcting her, the mother-in-law will stop considering her the problem, knowing that there were two of us in the same situation. She still claims she was abused by my parents. When I asked her to provide some clear examples, she first said, "You know very well what happened." But me and her fiancé insisted. Some of the things she mentioned were when she was a teenager, she was oftentimes punished while I was not, which was a clear indication I was loved more, and this is abuse. Keeping in mind that when she was 14 to 15, I was only 9 or 10, and she was doing bad things like getting suspended for smoking during one of her classes, skipping school, etc. How was I supposed to be punished along her? She said I was also doing bad things, but was never punished while she was. Her fiancé asked her verbatim, "So you claim you were abused because you were punished for smoking in class, while the bad things your younger sister did was maybe draw on walls? How do you assume would be fair to punish such different actions the same?" She was not able to answer. She claimed she was financially abused by her parents because they would not give her money for fun activities, school trips, or even when she misbehaved. This was an example of punishments what she would often receive. Her fiancé asked if our parents provided her with basic things like food, clothes, school supplies, and she said yes. He mentioned parents are not obligated to financially support trips and fun activities, so how was she financially abused? I asked her if she ever thinks about everything she did wrong towards our family. She claims she knows she was not a saint, but she was a child. I pointed out that at 17 you are not a child, and you know better than to swear on your grandmother. Her fiancé had no idea about anything, so I explained some very nasty things she did and said. One time we were getting ready to go to our cousin's baptism, and she wanted to wear a black t-shirt with a pentagram on it. Grandma asked her to change because her outfit was not appropriate for a baptism. Katie called her an old, outdated effing hag. Her fiancé mentioned a story Kate told him and his parents with an incident where my parents abused her and confiscated her car, leaving her to walk to school during the winter time. What she failed to mention was that my parents confiscated her car because of a DUI that she was treated like it was not a big deal. And secondly, she never had to walk to school during the winter because she could have gone by bus, but in reality, even with no car, she carpooled with one of her colleagues. This triggered her ex a lot because unfortunately he lost his grandfather because of a drunk driver. So even knowing this, Kate lied and turned her story into a soap opera just for her to look like a victim. I asked her ex if she ever said negative things about me, and he said no. She only mentioned some instances where our parents treated us differently, but I always pointed out that they were doing it to turn us against each other. But based on the story she told, she apparently never blamed me for anything or said anything negative about me. The entire ordeal lasted for around 3 hours, and in the end, I was exhausted. I told her that even if we never were close as sisters, I've always loved her and considered her my sister, period. Not half, just only my sister. I told her I understand that our parents could have handled things differently, and maybe she did not receive all the help she needed to adjust to a stepmother and a new family dynamic. But I'm now judging her as an adult who should know not to lie and pose as a victim, and who should assume responsibility for her part. As people pointed out in my last post, I advised her to get therapy and solve all of her issues, but until that happens, I cannot continue to have a relationship with her. She accused me of favoring our parents over her, but I told her I favor the truth over lies, and she should be ashamed of herself. So that's what happened between me and Kate. I have no idea what happened or what will happen with her ex, but based on how things turned out, I really doubt he will give her another chance. He made it clear that she cannot be trusted and pointed out something his mother told him. If she's capable to lie in such a way about her own parents, what will she be capable of saying about him? He said he is not doubting she can start saying he was also abusive, since this seems to be her narrative. But that's her own problem. She's made this bed for herself. Now let's check in the community for some comments. First up, I remember your last post. I did suspect correctly that her experience growing up would be different from yours. I knew from the get-go she was up to something serious. She could have been honest, but instead she lied and expected you to cover for her. The story about her DUI made me lose any ounce of sympathy I may have for her situation. Since she is a liar and may lash out at you, I suggest you talk to your parents about what happened so that they are aware and not caught off guard when it eventually gets back to them. The OP replies, I told them everything that happened so they can be aware. What was very, very hard to digest was the way they reacted. They were not angry, not enraged. They were just like, yeah, we expected that much from her. Next person says, that's so sad that their experiences with her have led to them feeling that way. I absolutely understand what it's like to have expectations like that of someone that you love. It's distressing and exhausting because it takes up so much emotion and energy. I'm glad you're backing away from such awful behavior. It's so unfortunate that your parents' response was one of the resignation instead of anger because they've been living with the behavior for so long. That's got to be a tough pill to swallow, but it also shows how deeply ingrained her behavior is and how much damage it's caused over the years. It's a sad reality that some people can't face their issues head on, and instead of making up narratives to avoid responsibility. How would you deal with a family member who keeps making up lies and causing drama, even after you've had to help them? Let us know in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.